ברשוס הכל הקודש הזה, אני רואה רובה פה הם דוברי עברית, אבל אני רוצה לקחת את הרשות לדבר באנגלית. We're Americans, and I want to give over a zikaron to the American crowd. We have a lot of Bogrim, a lot of alumni that are waiting. They're thirsting to hear something about Reb Moshe. So ברשות אני רוצה לדבר באנגלית. רובה דרובה מה שאני רוצה להגיד, כבר שמעתי מרב צבי, מרב דוד, הם דיברו יפה על רב מוישה, ואני צריך לעשות קצת בסגנון אחר, אותו דבר אבל סגנון אחר. 55 years. 55 years. It's more than a Yovel. I came to Torah Or in 1969, Tafshin Chavtes, and Rav Moshe was already here from before the 6-Day War. For over 50 years, Rav Moshe was a chavrusa, a friend, a brother, a shutef in the yeshiva. Over 50 years, more than a yovel. When he passed away, I said, Oy chavrusa, o misusa. Rav Moshe is no longer with us. I have to give a little background. A few of you will recognize this, and many of you won't. We were the founding Talmidim of Yeshivas Torah Or in Eretz Yisrael. We started in Diskin in Givat Shaul, and then this was the new building. It was a very close-knit group of Talmidim, all of us, American Bachrim. And we were attracted. The charismatic personality of Moreno V'Rabbeinu Hagoyin Agodol Mogen Moshe Yeshiva Reb Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg Zeichet Tzaddik V'Kodesh Levracha Schuso Yogen Aleinu. We already heard, you can't talk about Reb Moshe without talking about the Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal. The Rosh Yeshiva had a mission. He was a gadol. He was a giant in Torah, a giant in Yira, a giant in Sitkis. He radiated Yerushalayim. It just flowed out of him. They say about the Chafetz Chaim, you could shovel it in by the bucketful. That was the Rosh Yeshiva. Everybody who came in contact with him was affected and attracted. You were pulled close to him. And he had a knack, a unique knack. He was down to earth. Anyone could approach him and confide in him. He could receive an understanding ear and receive deep, profound, and yet simple, straightforward advice in life. He had a deep chokhmah, how to answer each and every one of us to direct us to the right path. But perhaps most importantly, just coming in contact with him, it pulled us that we wanted to emulate him. And the Rosh Yeshiva was very, very aware of this talent of his. And he used it to build us all up. The Chabura, Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Menashe, Moshe Finkelstein, and more. The American Chabura of Bachram and Jungelite, he instilled in us, no, more, he demanded of us a she'ifa legadlus. A she'ifa legadlus. The Rosh Hashiva radiated godless, and that's what he expected from us. Just being close to a gadol. How can you not want to be like him? You know, there's a famous a quip, a saying that they have. You can take the Bacher out of America, but you can't take the America out of the Bacher. I think the Rosh Hashiva could. I think the Rosh Hashiva could. He was a groiser Kunstmacher. He put in hasogis into the Bachrim and to change them and instill in them a she'ifa legadlus. At the beginning of Torah Or, way back, you remember Menashe? Motzi Shabbos. Motzi Shabbos. What was Motzi Shabbos? Shmuzin. Amunim b'tochim. Over and over and over again, week after week. Amunah and b'tochim. This was the beginning of Rav Moshe's career. This is what he got from the Rosh Hashiva. The solid Amunah and B'tochen that the Rosh Hashiva, he pounded into us. Rav Moshe printed the Shmuzim, Aryeh Rabinowitz, he transcribed them, and Rav Moshe printed them. I noticed something at that Tekufa. Rav Moshe had a sefer all the time on his table. Chatzkel Levenstein, Rav Chatzkel. Sefer Amunah from Rav Chatzkel. It's always by his side. He was looking into it constantly. He was working on Amunah in the style of Rav Chatzkel. What's Rav Chatzkel's style? Pure, unadulterated, 100% Amunah. Bli shum kunzim. And Rav Chatzkel writes in the Or Yechezkel, you have to chazer it over and over again. And he accents on Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. And you have to visualize it with all the stories and anchor it into your heart. I'm sure that was the impetus. That was the seed that sprouted Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim of Rav Moshe, the famous Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim of Rav Moshe. And this created the strong foundation of Amunah Pshuta, which laid the groundwork for the next phase. Because pure Amunah creates an unbreakable bond with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelkoi, ki eved neman karos aloi. Isn't that so apropos? Eved neman. Rav Moshe was an Eved Hashem. As we heard from Rav Tzvi, he was an Eved Hashem. There's a Rabbeinu Yoina in Brachos. Rabbi Yochanan says, Ezu ben olam haba, Zasoymech gula l'tfila. What's pshat? He's soymech. He says, "Go al Yisrael," or the bracha "Go al Yisrael," and he goes into Shmona Esrei. Freg Rabbeinu Yoina, because of he's soymech, "Go al Yisrael," just says the bracha "Go al Yisrael," and then he goes into Dav and he gets such a big schar. Oilam haba. Zok Rabbeinu Yoina. Kadosh Baruch Hu, when he was goyel us, and he took us out of Mitzrayim, the whole purpose was to be avodim. Until now you're avdei para. Now you're avdei avodai. Avdei the boire. The whole purpose of taking us out of Mitzrayim was to make us into avodim. Birchas Go al Yisrael is the chesed that Kosh Baruch Hu did with us. He took us out of Mitzrayim. He was goyel us. And what does he want us to do? Avoida. Tefillah zu avoida. V'avadatem es Hashem Elokeichem zu tefillah. When you mention Yetzias Mitzrayim and you daven, immediately daven, you're showing, just like an Eved is kind of the rabbi, the rabbi is kind of the Eved. He's chayav to do his mitzvahs. He's chayav to do his rotzain. When you say Go al Yisrael and you go straight into davening, you're marker the toiva of the gula that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was goyel us, and you're an Eved, and you're doing the Ratzain and the mitzvahs of the Ribbono Shel Olam, you're Zoicha to Olam Haba. Woo! Olam Haba. It's big stuff. Olam Haba. That's the whole purpose of Olam Haba. Avdus. Because Baruch was moitzi us from Avdus Paro. We became Avdei Hashem, and that's the Cheiros Olam, that's the Tachlis of the Bria. Now that's a tall order for an American bacher, huh? How do you do that for an American bacher? How do you change an American bacher, an American young man, to make him into a Eved Hashem? How do you do that? It says in the Gemara in Ksubis, "V'atem adveikim b'Hashem Elokeichem chayim kulchem hayoyim." Is it possible to be dovik in the Shechina? Atem adveikim b'Hashem, you could be dovik in the Shechina. Hashem Elokeichem. Eish oichla. Hashem is Eish. How can you be dovik in the Shechina? Kol ha-dovik l'tamid chacham ma'ilo lo v'kosu ki'ilu medabek b'Shechina. How do we become Avdei Hashem? By being dovik in the Talmidei Chachamim. And we, the original Chabura, Torah Or, and later on, we were Zeicha to have the Rosh Hashiva. And that gave us our connection to the Ribbono Shel Olam, to Torah, to Godless. Now, when Moshe Lewis first came into the yeshiva, he had natural talents. We all do. We have natural talents. We come in with our own individual personalities and our strengths. When I first saw him, we recognized he's got his talents, traits of responsibility and determination. Now the Rosh Yeshiva was very perceptive, and he spotted it, and he was a groiser kunstmacher. He was able to take a person's innate talents and channel them to avodas Hashem. And that's why he made him the Gabbai. From the beginning, he was the Gabbai. Rosh Yeshiva took a look at him. You're the Gabbai. Now that put an achrayus on Reb Moshe, because whatever he did, he took very seriously. And he took it to the end. And the Rosh Yeshiva had very, very specific expectations of what has to be done. It has to be done this way. Rosh Yeshiva was very, very makbid in the way things are done. And Moshe had to do the job right. So he constantly asked the Rosh Yeshiva exactly what the Rosh Yeshiva wanted each step of the way. It created a connection between the Moshe and the Rosh Yeshiva. He became David to the Rosh Yeshiva. And for 50 years until the Rosh Yeshiva passed away, he was David to the Rosh Yeshiva. He didn't make a move. We heard that already. He didn't make a move without asking the Rosh Yeshiva what to do, how to do it. And that gave him a very, very strong, natural understanding of what is true Das Torah. He was David to the Rosh Yeshiva like an Eved is to his Adon, and the Rosh Yeshiva trusted him. We heard that already. He was Rosh Yeshiva's Gabbai. But not just in the minyan, in the building. How many times I heard that there was a question of what to do in the building? Go ask Moshe. Moshe knows what to do. Yeah, that's Moshe. He trusted Rav Moshe. Moshe knew what the Rosh Yeshiva would want. You could ask Rav Moshe what to do. He knew what had to be done. There was a time when Rav Moshe asked, he didn't want the Gaboyas anymore. It was too much of an oil for him. He told me that. It was too much of an oil. Rosh Yeshiva said, no! There's no other Gabbai. Only Rav Moshe. We were very lucky in Torah. Reb Zadel Epstein came. The Mashgiach from Grodno. Ooh, finally we got Vadim, European Vadim. This is our opportunity to have a connection to the Musar of European Musar. Woo! So we had Vadim. And Reb Zadel had Kabbalas. Weekly Kabbalas, monthly Kabbalas, and Reb Moshe Kedarka B'Kodesh. He took these Kabbalas very, very seriously. Everybody during the Shiva, everybody was mentioning the stopwatch, huh? Everybody mentioned the stopwatch. Reb Ezrachi mentioned the stopwatch. You asked me about the stopwatch. What was the stopwatch? Everybody thinks, it's some sort of impulsive nourishkeit. What is it? This is stopwatch business. It's starting the stopwatch, stopping the stopwatch. It was very, very calculated. He was keeping a heshbon. Rav Zadel told us, take on a Kabbalah, how much you're going to learn each day. Make a hespid. How much are you going to learn each day? Every day. Chok v'lo yavor. And Rav Moshe took this very, very seriously. Until the very end. He kept a cheshbon. How much time I'm supposed to be learning each day. And the stopwatch was when somebody came and was talking, not learning. A person came for an eitzah or for whatever. He did the stopwatch and he stopped. Because he's not learning now. And as soon as the person left, stopwatch, started alone, started again, and continued. It was a cheshbon. What was your quota each day? Did you finish your quota? Did you finish your hesped? Keep a cheshbon, and he did. And this was his Kabbalah, and he did it to the end, to the very end. Another Kabbalah. It's an example. Zadel said, look for hashgacha pratis. Look for 3 hashgacha pratis every day. You know what kind of emunah that develops? You start being aware of things, and you see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life. And with this, he became an Ish Emunah. And his Emunah was, he was a rock of Gibraltar with his Emunah. Hashem was an integral part of his life. Nemanis, and responsibility. Responsibility, that was his guidepost. He felt Neman. He felt a responsibility to everybody. All of his Talmidim, all of his friends. He came to every simcha. He went out of his way to come to every simcha. When he heard a Talmud in America was having a simcha, he would call up. He kept a kesher with all his Talmidim. Because that was with Moshe. Nemanis to each and every one. Moshe emes v'soy rasoi emes. Huh? He was an ish emes. That was with Moshe. You couldn't budge the emes. He was solid. There was no cutting corners. No games. Everything was yashris, glattkeit. This is what he demanded from himself. 100% glattkeit. And this is what he demanded from his Talmidim. Now, many people, many Rebbes, when they make a demand from the Talmidim, they put the Talmud down. No. Never put the Talmud down. It was a limud. It was a limud. Live with the emes. Live with the cheshbon. You know, he was nish emes in learning. You know, any pshat that he said when he learned the Gemara, the pshat had to be an absolute emes. It had to fit in like a glove. He wouldn't budge from pasha pshat. I learned with him as a chavrusa, and he was constantly challenging me, you know. Whatever I would say, if it doesn't fit in. If it doesn't fit in, it's not emes. In order to be emes, it had to fit in like a glove. He was like Reish Lakish and always challenging Rav Yechanan. He set me straight. Now I don't have a chavrusa. And this was a remarkable trait that he had. And this is how he taught the Bachrim. First of all, he had to have a geschmack in learning the Gemara. Because when you have the Gemara as chlor, and it fits in, and it flows, you feel that this is emistik pshat. Emistik pshat creates a geschmack. It pulls you into learning. This is how he pulled the Bachrim into learning. Pashit pshat. More than that. He taught the Bachrim how to keep a cheshbon. Live with emes. We like to live in dimyonis. We live in fantasies. That's fantasy world. That's where we live, in fantasy world. We like to fool ourselves. But life is not like that. Life is emes. Bacher, stop fooling yourself. That's how we build up the Bacher. Make a cheshbon. You have a serious life ahead of you. Don't fool yourself. Don't waste your life away. Learn responsibility. You have a responsibility to davening, responsibility to seder, responsibility to friends, and responsibility to family. That's how you build up the personality of the Bacher. And this gave them the ability to work with his Talmidim. He could build them up and make them grow out of their immaturity. He picked them up and set them straight and made mention out of them. He made mention out of them. Years later, he met some of his toughest Talmidim, and they thanked him. Thank you, Rebbe. And this was the kunz that he had, like Rabbeinu Yoina says, Yiddishkeit is avdus. Yiddishkeit is, now that's a big jump for an American bacher, avdus. Jump into avdus. You develop, you instill in them lamana emes, and you drill into the Talmidim the real values of life. Now get the USA out of your system. Leave America. And he was able to do it. Now, we all have Bein Zmanim, right? What do we do Bein Zmanim? We relax. We recharge the batteries, right? That's what Bein Zmanim is about. By Reb Moshe, what was his idea of Bein Zmanim? He went to Netanya, he did his Voididus. He wanted to be alone and concentrate on Avodas Hashem. He was an Eved. Emes Eved. And it was mentioned before, his contagious smile. His ability to smile in every situation. It's because of his emunah pshuta. He saw Kodesh Baruch Hu in everything. He saw Kodesh Baruch Hu everywhere. And therefore he had a contagious smile. He always smiled. He shone. He had a smile that shone no matter what he was going through. He was going through in the yeshiva, going through at home, marrying off his kids. That itself is a very difficult tekufa. Never lost his emunah. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything. What did he always say? Baruch Hashem. It was always on his lips. Baruch Hashem. Whether it's good or not so good, smiling, taking everything, it's from Hashem. Baruch Hashem. A tremendous sense of emunah. And that's why the Bachram looked up to him. In many ways, he was a father figure. He was a rock of Gibraltar. He was solid. And Bachram needed that stability. And that's how he made the Bachram. He had expectations of himself in his avodah to live up to them. And that's how he built up Bachram. Have expectations and live up to them. And he's no longer with us. We have to study his milas. We have to know how to fill the void. So now our job is to learn from his ways, to continue his legacy. That's our responsibility, to learn from his ways, to fill up what we have lost. Let me recap. Amunah. He lived with pure amunah. That's how he lived his life, with amunah pshuta, amunah chazaka, hashgacha pratis. To see HaKadosh Baruch Hu everywhere in every aspect of your life. Like Rav Chatzkel said, study Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's the aside of amunah. And that was his life's mission. He passed away on Parsha Shmos, the beginning of Yetzias Mitzrayim. That says something. Says something. And that brings us to Avdus. The Eved HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Vekas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. His batlis to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't have the Rosh Shiva anymore. We don't have the Gedolim. We don't have the Gedolim to be Dovik to them. So what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu expecting from us? Where's the Rosh Hashiva Zatzal? We don't have them anymore. We don't have the Demus. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you, you have me. Me. Every one of us can see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in their own lives. Learn how to be David to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be an Eved to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And have a she'ifa legadlis. There aren't too many Gedolim left. There aren't too many Gedolim left. So what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu expecting? Expecting us. We have to be the Gedolim. You have to learn godless. We have to build ourselves up. We have to have a she'ifah to constantly grow and become a gadol, all around gadol. Now I had a special relationship with Moshe. Like I said, it was over 50 years, more than 50 years, 55 years. And I want to speak to the Rebbitzin. Rebbitzin, are you listening? Are you there? You were always by his side. You were an Eishes Chayil. The whole burden of the oil of the home was on your shoulders. You wanted to let Reb Moshe be free for Avodas Hashem, to be in yeshiva. You had a meal prepared for him. I remember he used to take a meal every day. He had his packaged meal. You allowed him to stay in the yeshiva. He almost never went home. As Rebbe Akiva said to his Talmidim about his wife Rachel, Shali v'shalchem, to his Talmidim, Shali v'shalchem, Shalahi, Shalahu, his schus and the schus of his Talmidim are your schus. Together you created a wonderful family. A pride to Yiddishkeit, l'teferes. May you all, the ganze Mishpacha, may you Rebbitzin, all the sons, the Banim, all the daughters, may you all be comforted. Hamaki menachem eschem b'soch sharvei l'sim v'Yushalayim. Amen. What's this makom? Hamakom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's hamakom? What's hamakom? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mekoimo Shel Olam. We're sitting in the lap of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's Mekayim us. He's holding us. He's supporting us. He gives us life. He's Mechaya us. He gives us the koyach to be mamshich. The Mekoimo Shel Olam gives us the koyach to be mamshich because Reb Moshe is still in the Mekoim of the Olam. He is not gone. He's still chai v'kayom. He's together in the Mekom. He's just moved to a different place. Because the special amunah of a Yid is Olam Haba and Techiyas HaMesim. A Yid lives with the amunah of Olam Haba and Techiyas HaMesim. That's the last Ani Mamin. Ani Mamin b'amunah shlema Shatia Techiyas HaMesim be'esh yala rotzim me'ez habayri yisborah shmo v'yisala zikra lo'ad l'netzach musachim. It's forever. It's not for 70 years. It's forever. Roshivas used to say, don't feel sad. He used to say to Almanis and to Yisayim, don't feel sad, don't feel abandoned. You're going to be together with him in Olam Haba. You'll be zocheh to be together with him in Olam Haba. And therefore, Anachnu Mavakshim, Lifnei Sheichim Meroimim Yisborah Shem. She'or Chodesh al Tziyum Toyev v'nizkech ulonim b'mheira li'oyroi. Bila hamovis l'netzach v'mocha Hashem Elokim dimo mi'al kol panim b'mheira b'yameinu. Amen. Kein Yehi Ratzoim. Amen.